Hi everyone and welcome to the first episode of Thevon Talk. Now Thevon Talk is something new that I'm starting on YouTube, and I am going to, guess what? Talk in my videos about certain subjects, especially music related. And for the first episode of Thevon Talk, I'm going to talk about my debut EP, which is called The Monster's House. You can find it on iTunes, Spotify and so on. And I released it last year, I think it was in July. It has 4 different songs. It's symphonic metal or maybe melodic death metal, something in between. And it has failed miserably, at least in my opinion. And in this video I'm going to show you what happened, or at least why I think it failed. And so before we continue, I'd like to show you some small snippets of every song so you kind of know what the EP is all about. So let's check it out. So here it is, Thevon, 3 monthly listeners. Can you imagine 3 monthly listeners? That's, oh man, that's pure fame, you know. So now you know why I think it failed. The good thing is that's 3 listeners more than last month, because it had 0 listeners. So I guess something's happening, or probably those 3 listeners are me, myself, and I, or maybe my girlfriend has listened to one of my songs or something. Anyway, the first song is called Welcome to the Monster's House, and let's listen to this song. So it has this little piano bell sound intro. So that's how the first song starts. Actually this part is in 7/4 measure for you geeks out there. Okay, the second song is called Light, and it sounds like this. So a little bit more, organ, choir, and so on. Okay, next song is called Fight. And actually this song, before we continue, the song Fight is the one that I worked on the least of all. And it's the song that most people love the most. So it's kind of the opposite of what you expect. Also has this metalcore kind of vibe. Also some synths. And then the last song, which is the longest song, but I am going to let you hear the ending of that song, because that's actually what I think is the most epic sounding part. And so on and so on. Okay, so as you can tell, it has failed miserably because it just doesn't have any listeners. And that makes me think, how can we actually promote music these days? And in my opinion, what I've learned so far is that the internet on its own is not enough, definitely not. And it's really hard as a nobody, because nobody knows me. I've never been in a famous band or anything. And then it's really hard to get famous or to release music and gets picked up by the crowd. So what I did was to promote this music was just some social media posts. I searched for some Facebook groups to promote my music a little bit, maybe on Reddit and some forums maybe too, can't remember. And it had some reactions. It was also picked up by a small radio station, which is quite cool actually. I think also, these websites that write reviews, I think I had like maybe 3 or 4 reviews, but that's definitely not enough. So that makes me think, how can I do this in the future, or how can I do this especially better in the future? And I think one of the things is review websites. Yeah, it's not bad, but you need a lot of reviews to get a lot of attention, because if you see those articles on those review websites and you see how much people have read the articles, it's maybe 100 or maybe even less. So that's not a lot, of course, unless there's a bigger magazine or something that makes a review, I guess. So anyway, that makes me think, is it really the internet on its own that can make you big or anything like that? I don't think it's true. I think if you have a band, it's still really important to get out there, get on stages, so that people can see you play. I think it also needs more time. It's not really, probably in my mind, I had something like, I'm just going to release this and people will pick this up and it will get somewhere on its own. But I'm afraid it doesn't work like that. And if it does, maybe it does for some people, but that's not how it is for the majority of people. So lessons learned, I guess. So what am I going to do differently in the future? Well, I plan on releasing songs, so no EP or an album or anything. And I'd like to make YouTube videos around those songs. That's probably the way I'm going to release my music in the future, on this YouTube channel. I'm also writing new music at the moment, something totally different than what you've heard on this EP. I also recently bought an 8-string guitar, so I'm going to write some stuff for 8-string as well. But also non-metal stuff, so it's gonna be interesting. That's for sure. So anyway, I think it's still really important to get out there with your band and be on a stage and so on and so on. And actually it's quite easy to fall into the trap of, if you see more modern bands, how they got famous, maybe by the internet, but they are still not as big as the older bands that actually became famous because of standing on a stage. And I still think, if you look at the bigger festivals, it's always the same names, it's always still the same famous bands that are headlining. And I don't think the newer bands will be able to kick them off stage really soon. No, I don't think so. So I think just the old school way of trying to get your band famous is the right way to do it. Of course, the internet can be great too, if you have a big YouTube channel or an Instagram page and you can promote your music that way, yeah, then it probably works too. Although not as good as you would think, because I've seen some famous YouTubers that release their music, and if you look on Spotify, they don't have that much listeners as you would expect. So anyway, this was the first Thevon talk. I'm just randomly talking, and I hope I'm getting better at this, because it's still a little bit awkward talking to a camera, and my English isn't the greatest. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you in the next Thevon talk. Bye bye. Oh, and don't forget to listen to my EP, Thevon, The Monster's House, Spotify, iTunes, and so on.